Hello everyone, I'm Eric Hux of Hux Racing, and this will be the fourth video in our series of how-to videos for the MR2 SW20, how to build a K-Series plug-and-play harness. The first three videos covered chassis harness preparation, K20 engine harness prep, and K20 charge harness prep. This will be the final video to show you how to tie all that together. I have a completed plug-and-play harness here. I want to show you what the final work looked like before we go on to going all the steps through an untouched harness to show you how to build it. Now this is from Hybrid Racing. This is our universal K-Series conversion harness. And as I said, this is what the completed work looks like. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Now, this is exactly how it comes out of the box from Hybrid Racing. And there is the part number that we use. Toss this off to the side. Okay. First thing I'm going to want to do is snip all these zip ties off of here. Now this whole video will be in real time, and I'll go through all the steps to prepare this. This is only going to be the second one of these I've built this way, so this video certainly won't be as polished as all the others, because the chassis harness, engine, and charge harness prep, I've done hundreds of those, so I could do those in my sleep. Whereas this one, I built one to prove out what I needed, and now I'm doing a second one to show you what's necessary. So like I said, go ahead and snip all these and extend all these wires out. Okay. It's going to be a mess at first. Before we go any further and you wonder what all these wire colors are that Hybrid supplies, they do have a link on their website, and I'll put it in the description below. It looks a lot like this right here. I have some notes on mine, but this is their instruction sheet to their universal harness, telling you what the color of the wires and what they go to. I'll put a link below to show you how to get access to this. Now, we have all the wires cut loose and pulled back. What I want to do now before I go any further is I want to go ahead and label all these connectors and pin one location so that you guys can follow along. This will be pin 1 on E connector. That's E, pin 1. This is C101, the large gray connector. Let me twist it around a bit so I can refamiliarize myself with where pin 1 is. This will be pin 1. And this connector is called C101. This connector over here, this is your lead for your O2 sensor. And I'll go ahead and put O2 on there. And this is your OBD2 port. Everybody should know what that is. All right. So before we go any further with that, let's go ahead and this is a relay socket similar to what Hybrid uses. I will be offering a DIY kit that has all these convenient pieces added to it with connectors and pins and the Molex and the other specialty pieces. You don't have to do it this way. You can go to Advanced or O'Reilly's and buy all pieces to copy this and, you know, to duplicate it and do it yourself with different items. But I'm just showing a clean way duplicate what I did on the previous harness. So this is a connector body just like what Hybrid uses. That's going to be for the start. So I made these little convenient labels here that I'll now put on where these relay locations are so that you can follow along and know what I'm doing. So that will be the start relay location. Try to go through this as quickly as possible so this doesn't take forever to render this video. This will be main, And I know these relay locations because I already checked all this out earlier. This one is your fuel pump relay. Now I'm going to say this: if you're powering the this whole relay bank, as I show in the previous videos, from the IE2 connector, I believe it is called, that connector can only supply 40 amps. So you never want to power bigger than a 255 liter per hour fuel pump from the fuel pump relay on this panel. So you all motor guys, you will be fine running this. Not sure I got both of these pieces off of here. No, I didn't. If you plan to run a twin pump or a big pump setup, what you're going to want to do is this yellow wire here comes from the connector E, pin 1. That's the ground trigger for a relay. You're going to want to cut this wire out of here, pull it back through. They don't have these pinned in, like glued in place. So you can pull this wire out, and then you're going to want to extend this wire to wherever your relay bank is for your for your fuel pump. Like I said, you never want to power anything bigger than a 255 from the factory power supply to the back of the car. If you have a big pump setup, you want to do a remote relay with this powered straight from the fused straight from the battery, and then trigger it from this yellow wire. And kswapmr2.com has fuel pump wiring diagrams to help you with that. Clean up this mess here. Okay, I got some notes over here. As like I said, this is only the second one of these, and I want to show you guys how to do it. Socket label. Okay, now I've already pre-made some wires here. I went ahead and already crimped on the proper ends for the particular connector, simply because I didn't want to waste time in the video crimping ends. So what we want to do is, 2 of these wires are going to come off of the C101. So this is the C101. I want to go ahead and open this lock up without stabbing myself in the hand. Okay, C101 is open. In the MR2 SW20, well, the engine harness, your K20 engine harness, pin 1 and pin 2, both of these wires run to the reverse connector on the transmission. They run to no other position, so we need to add wires to these 2 spots. Like I said, if you buy a kit from me, I'll give you the proper pins to add to these connectors. And this is a ground and a positive for reverse. So while we're in here, the hybrid universal harness does not come with a wire for the alternator light. That will be pin location 8, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this will now be our alternator light for the SW20. As you can see, I added these 2 for the reverse, this one for the alternator. Go ahead and lock the lock back on there. Get it in there and locked. Cool. Okay. Those 3 wires added. Now we need to add the wires for the starter relay. We have our 2 trigger wires. One's for a ground, one's for the actual starter signal. It doesn't really matter which side these go in. Guess I've got it backwards. Okay, and now we're back. A moment ago, in my time, I realized I had the wrong pin crimped on the relay connectors, and now I have the correct pin. So this will be the 12-volt trigger for the relay. Locked in. This will be the ground. Locked in. Locked, confirmed. This will be the 12 volts in. And looking at which way I install it. installed. Okay, so there's those 3 wires installed into the starter relay socket. Now, on the C101, the hybrid universal harness, this large black wire is the wire that runs out to the starter solenoid. Try to tuck as much of this out of the way. We want to run this wire it's like trying to wrangle ants. Okay. Now, hopefully when you do it, it goes easier than this. Okay, this black wire we want to run to the remaining socket in the starter relay. Pick my length. Pick that length there. Cut the extra off. Ooh, that one might be too heavy for that one. Standard strippers. Okay, I tried to strip that. Too heavy a gauge wire for that. Ta-da. Okay. So here's the proper relay connector. Crimp there. I'm not sure I want to crimp this fully. There we go. Crimped. Make sure I'm not catching any other wires. Goes facing up. Well, this relay's just fighting. Relay socket's fighting me. Okay. Down. Ta-da! Okay. Installed. So now we have all the wires running to the relays. I left this one long for some strain relief. Now, I feel like I'm having a nightmare of a time. Zip tie time. Let's tame this. Okay. Now, I know that the fuel pump wire, the starter wire, starter relay power wire, and the main wire are going to run to a relay box off separately. Excuse me, not to a relay, to the fuse block, as I showed in the first harness. So, this, I just picked this up at O'Reilly's. Simple. It's going to be our fuse block for the fuel pump, the ignition on, and the main. Throw that away. And I also picked up these convenient connectors. Now, let's see. Let's go ahead and tame all these other wires back while we're at it. All these other wires are going to run to our C101. Excuse me. All these other wires are going to run to our Molex connector. Many of them from the C101 and the E. I feel like half my battle in this video is just trying to tame these rolled up wires. Okay. I believe this orange wire has to come along. All right, look at that. Much easier to contend with now. All that's trimmed back. Let's go ahead and get our fuse block placed in here. We're just going to cut all these somewhere around here. You can pick your own length. I feel like I want to put the fuse block right here in this location. Right there. Save these wires. Now, see if I've wrecked these strippers. Nope. Working good still. Oh, except for there. There we go. So we have fuel pump. I'll put the fuel pump on the second one. The larger red wire is the starter wire that I supplied. And the smaller wire is the main from the hybrid racing harness. Now these other pieces we cut off, we're going to go ahead and crimp some ends onto those too. I feel like I didn't have that one in, but I did. Okay. So, large red, blue, smaller red. Actually, I am going to alter these locations, and you'll see why here in a second. Starter sec. There we go. Now, I'm going to cut the zip tie off because this wire will be coming right back in to the section of wires that runs to our Molex connector. This section of wires here, I feel like that's enough length. Both of these will be crimped together. Right here, the start power to the starter relay and the main. We are now going to combine these two. This will connect to the IE SW20 connector, the 40 amp feed to the front half of the car. See if I can crimp this together without destroying my connector. Perfect. And just like that. Now, if you buy the kit from me, I'll be supplying a pair of these. These are a mating set. It's the same connector, but they just flip upside down and connect to each other like that. Makes for a convenient connection. I think these are rated to 50 amps. So that will connect to the chassis harness to the main 40 amp feed from the front half of the car. Now, that brings us down to the Molex connector. Pick a convenient length, something that you want. Now, something to note is that the purple wire is a fan control wire. I don't have a position for that in a Molex, so actually they call that pink in Hybrid Racing's description. I will pull this piece out, this one wire out, so I don't cut it shorter. Yeah, it's a light purple or a violet or something, but they call it pink in the description. That wire, just wrap up on something. Okay. So the rest of these, that's a convenient length. Actually, before I do that, cut all that off. And we're gonna strip these, terminate them, and plug every end of these into our Molex connector. Or you can, feel free to terminate them in your car. Just butt splice it all together permanently, or do as I do and make it plug and play. Well, I think I've done a deal on these strippers. They don't always strip properly. Some wires are great, some wires not so much. I bought these from Ballinger. There was their recommended brand. I'm sure I've done thousands upon thousands of insulation stripping with these. Man, everything else went fine. Okay. Here's our pins. And where's our connector body? And that's the connector body. Find my marker. It's easy to find pin 1 location. Pin 1 location has this rib. Not sure if you can make this out. If that helps. There's a raised spot there. And then it's labeled or numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and on. So that's the Molex. And this is the proper pins for this style connector. The only thing to note here is that we are combining the ignition on signal with the 12 volts to the reverse lights. So this one position, we're going to want to crimp 2 wires together. Or you can splice them further down and bring 1 wire up if you like. And my crimpers. In there. Awesome. And then grab the strain relief portion. Crimped. Now, per my list, you can find it at kswapmr2.com, all the other information. Here's the pinout locations I like to use for the Molex. I'll also put these farther down in the description. So I like pin 3 to be ignition on. So 1, 2, 3, pin 3. Perfect. So now we can just go ahead and put a single pin on every one of these. Put all these pins on, and then we'll come back and insert them into the connector. Now, as I said before, this video will be in real time, other than editing at a snafu or two, or a spot where I was unsure of a wire position and wanted to take that pause, added the video. As I said, this is only the second one of this version that I've done. So unlike all the other videos that I've done, hundreds of those, this is one just a how-to to show you guys how to do this yourselves. As I said, you don't have to use any of these connectors or relay blocks or anything that I'm using. You can make do with stuff you find at the parts store, or just butt splice it all together and don't worry about having the convenient connectors. Oh, we're home stretching it. Get them all? I got them all. All right. So by process of elimination and me dropping my sheet off at the bench and at the back, we'll start with the known easy ones. So the blue one is the fuel pump. Fuel pump will be in position 2. Small yellow wire with the writing, that's the yellow wire that I supplied. That's going to be the alternator. That'll be pin 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So go through here. Let's do that again. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Pin 8. The yellow as supplied by Hybrid. Yellow. CEL or MIL output. I like to use position 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Clipped in. The green is going to be my 12 volts from the start relay. Starter signal 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To take my zip tie off of here to make it easier for me to get all these in here. Six. Okay. The purple wire, supplied by Hybrid. Oil pressure warning light. I have oil pressure on 9. Push this one through here. Nine. Then we have 2 whites. Let's see, before I go and mess up on what these go to, let's start with the black wires. One of the black is going to be my reverse light ground, and the other black is supplied by Hybrid, small black RPM. So this is going to be easy to test. Could have picked a different wire color. We have so many. We want to find reverse. As I said, one of these black wires is for reverse. Pin 1. That's not that one. There we go. So this one is my ground for my reverse lights. Or let's just say my reverse light trigger. Shouldn't even call it ground or trigger. This is the 12 volts that's going to the lights themselves. So that will be pin 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The other black wire was tack. That's pin position 1. And now we have these 2 white wires. One of these is going to be the starter relay ground, and the other one is going to be the VSS output. So we'll test this again. That's that. So this wire is my starter relay ground. Okay, we use this pin 7 dash ground. 4, 5, 6, 7. And then all there's left is the speed signal 10 speedometer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And these last 2 are to run leads out if you want for your water temp sensor. If you're wanting the factory temp sensor and the dash to work, you need to run a lead from this pin position 11 all the way to your water neck, and you need to have a Toyota water temp sensor installed, you know, an SW20 specific water temp sensor. And then 12 from the chassis harness will be a single wire that would lead to the clutch on your AC compressor. Now let me move all this other stuff out of the way here. And pop a relay into this socket. Push all this mess out. And just like that, we have built another plug and play panel for an SW20. Like I said, it could also be used for an AW11. So our E connector, C101, our O2 sensor, way out here, E, C101, O2, our bank of relays, our fuse block. Now typically I would probably put a 20s or 30s all the way across. I believe 20 amp fuse will be fine. A lot of guys will just run 30s. Like I said, this feed from the front half of the car is only a 40 amp feed. If you're running a bigger than a 255 pump, you need to run a remote relay that's powered by the battery anyway for the fuel pump. And then as I said earlier, you would just take this pin 1 wire, snip it from the relay position there, pull it out, and then use that as your ground trigger for your relay bank up at the wherever your relay bank is for your pumps. Most guys will have it up in the front half of the car. So that is that. A plug and play harness for an SW20, following our other video showing how to properly prepare the engine, charge, and chassis harness. Thank you for watching.